Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Silver Cosmo Movie Review.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Two guns.
Hey guys, traveling this vast galaxy while looking at my glass reflection. It's time to review. I am Chris with a K.
Straight from the Fortress of Solitude and from Vice. It's Marquez Christopher East and the off-brand Superman. Thank you, guys.
I'm still working on my punchline. All I'm going to say is that I sit down, have some popcorn, a nice drink to quench down my popcorn and watch these movies and give back my feedback. This is your host, Carlos. You guys, we will talk about Escape from New York. This is one of Marquez's favorite movies, and I'm glad we will talk more about it. But before we dive in, let's go ahead and give a quick pause and thanks to our following sponsors.
Hey guys, it's Chris with a K coming at you to let you know about a couple of my favorite podcasts, Silver Cosmos Movie Review and Wichita Vice. Join us in Silver Cosmos as we go in-depth analysis and galaxy-expanding reviews, and also Wichita Vice as we dig deep into all of our favorite comic book and sci-fi characters and storylines. Again, that's Silver Cosmos Movie Review and Wichita Vice.
All right, Marquez, let's talk a little bit about Escape from New York. So we know that Escape from New York was directed by John Carpenter, and the stars of the show, we have Kurt Russell, we have Harry Dean Stanton, we have Lee Van Cleef and Ernest, how do you say that last name?
Borgnine?
Borgnine.
Don't
forget,
don't
He's
forget
also an Airwolf. Yeah.
Adrienne Barbeau.
Yes. You cannot. Maggie.
Yes.
Yes. In fact, that's a gun in Borderlands 3.
Well, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. that's
All
the
right,
Maggie,
you guys,
yeah.
this was the moment that we've all been waiting for. Marquez, tell us about the plot of this movie.
It's a futuristic sci-fi epic that revolves around New York being a prison complex. And
the island of Manhattan in specific.
the island of Manhattan, yes. And that was actually the main premise. It's basically in the future, you get sent there. The law is just stagnant. It's just whatever you do, you go to meager crimes. You just go to New York. you don't go to.
There's no
way in. Well, there's a way in. I'm just saying. I get so excited talking about this because this is the movie that put sci-fi on the map for me. I was just a kid when it was out in 1981, but just the idea, the music, the theme, the scene, the tone, everything just set me on that path of being a nerd. I mean, and the premise is basically you go to New York. That is the prison, and it's the prison society, and it's ran by a guy called the Duke, who's played by Isaac Hayes, and pretty much it's like a dog-eat-dog world. If you get sent to prison, you are likely to die, or you join these type of marauding bandits on the island. And it's just, I remember thinking like, I want to live in this world, but no, I really don't want to live in this world. I mean, just the music, the cast, and you got to understand, I think, I can't speak for everyone, but for me personally, this was like the start of the popcorn movie flick genre, because we watch this movie now and it's just a fun romp through the past. It's the past's ideology of the future.
And
it's just
when you look at the time it was shot or released, even in which so it would have been shot in like around 80, it was released in 81. New York was kind of a cesspool at that time. In the late 80s, early 90s, they started cleaning up, but this was kind of a look at what if they just let New York go and really let it go, like literally just walled it up and let all the crud that was there stay in and put any other crud we find in there with them.
Yeah.
And so it's and I think they say in like 1987 or so, crime shot up like 400%. This is like the plot to the movie.
Yeah.
Shoots up 400%, the intro plot. And so they create the walled off city in Manhattan, and then what 10 years later in the storyline is when Snake Plissken, former Special Forces, Black Force undercover type stuff, knows how to handle any weapon, super martial arts, which at the time we weren't very martial art understanding,
with the exception of Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris.
Well, even then, Chuck Norris wasn't quite
Not really, but they did popularize martial arts in the United States.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying in '81 he still wasn't even his movies that were out at that point were pretty low budget and campy. It wasn't until you get into the Delta Force a couple years later that he really starts getting some stuff built up. But so anyway, but it was John Carpenter at his finest. I mean, you have him coming off successes with things like Halloween. Mm-hmm. And I think they'd already done The Thing by then.
Yeah, The Thing.
The Thing was a little bit later.
Was it a little bit after this one?
A little bit later.
Or was it before?
No, it was later because I think The Thing, that's when John Carpenter got back. Kurt Russell told him, "Hey, I'm about to do this movie again, and we will do a review of The Thing because The Thing is one of my favorite sci-fi."
Oh, okay.
So that's horror, that's my besides Halloween. That is my second favorite. John Carpenter
is a
movie.
Super classic. I say just action plot, like with the so he gets a device put into his neck that's going to blow up in 24 hours. He has 24 hours to complete the mission. Like,
and that
start the clock.
Yeah, and it gives you this ticking clock feel.
Right. I don't remember a whole lot of that outside of things like Mission Impossible with the bomb ticking down. But this is the bomb in his neck, and he's got to do something to get it. Yeah. And so that was kind of a cool deal, I thought, with the plot. And then just the way things kind of kept going back and forth. It was just interesting. Of course, he's got to fight the big ogre dude to win.
Yeah, in the
which
boxing ring.
It was so interesting because at the end of that fight, they're like, and then something happened with Brain, Harry Dean Stanton's character, and everyone just leaves, and Snake just kind of saunters out of the ring like, all right, I'm gonna go do my thing, guys.
Well, the plot was all over the place for the most part. I mean, it wasn't, back then films, nobody, I don't want to say nobody took them seriously, but they were filmed. I mean, they didn't, films of that era, they didn't apologize for anything.
No.
I mean, that you knew what you were getting into.
Well, and it's, it's a heavy John Carpenter, like his thumbprints are all, it's very, the way he shoots the streets, there's a lot of long, dark walking scenes similar to things like Halloween and Fog, and he's got, and the music over top of it, very, very his style. I mean, he did the music, so it's very much his style, very meandering, and I mean it comes up at times, but it's that very I don't want to say simple, like it's like bad thing, like sometimes less is more, that kind of idea. And I think that he really did that with his music in his movies. Like, I'm just adding just a little bit of music. I don't want the music to be the movie, although in Halloween, I mean, the music becomes just that 2-note back and forth. That's not a complex musical structure, but it's so engaging and just so bam. And I think that he had some of those same notions through the musical score. Like, it wasn't ba 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 in your face. It was just da da. It's very kind of thriller-esque to it. Yeah, and like it almost had that horror, like you're gonna get something's gonna jump. And it was very the background, And I have to talk about Isaac Hayes' character, Carlos. I know this is probably getting ahead, but the Duke. I mean, I look back now and I can't help but laugh.
Shaft. I'm sorry, I had to do it. Sorry, go ahead, Marquez. I'm sorry.
Chandeliers.
It just happened.
The chandeliers on his car.
4 chandeliers.
Pulled up on the car and they start playing that 70s disco style music, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Just driving that big 81 caddy or something. Yeah, and I just thought of back when I had an afro of significant size when I was a kid, and I can't help but just get nostalgic over that. That was just so, because I watched the movie again, I think this past Friday, just to kind of brush up on, do some research, and I just kept rewinding that one part, and I just kept like, okay, yeah, that's funny now. And the way Snake Plissken, when the Duke pulled up, Snake Plissken was standing there with his arms crossed, like, I'm really not impressed. Yeah. And then the brain said, you better get out of the street. You need to go. Cabby. Yeah, Cabby. Yeah, I'm sorry. Cabby, kind of the, he was kind of the comic relief, I guess, if you could call him. Yeah, but no, he was sent in to New York to rescue the president. The president's plane was shot down over New York. And he was carrying something that was a briefcase that had some data. A cassette tape. Right. That had super secure, by the way. Yeah. Cassette tape. Yeah, it was just straight up.
Regular cassette.
Yeah.
But it had something that he was flying to try to prevent some war from happening at this thing. His plane gets shot down. They don't even really get into why or how it gets shot down, do they?
No,
Does it just crash land?
No, it's the details.
Does it get shot down? I just saw it 2 weeks ago.
They shot it down.
Right. Someone did shoot
him.
it down.
Yeah, it was. I don't know what they used.
But I don't know that they weren't trying to necessarily send him down in the prison. That's just where he went down at.
Yeah. And that's what Snake Plissken was sent in to do, was rescue the president, and
get the tape.
Get the tape. Yeah, that was primary, secondary. I think the tape was primary, and I think the president was secondary.
But he did rescue the president.
Yeah, he did.
But a lot of I don't know how common it was in action movies at that point in time, but like every other, aside from Snake, all the other like people you're rooting for, die.
Yeah. But you kind of knew going in it wasn't going to be a happy ending.
No, It also had it had a little touch of the campy horror to it, like the death scenes, like when Maggie gets crushed by Duke's car after she shoots.
He runs her down at full speed.
Well, she's shooting
at him, but the impact. I mean, I was like, oh. When I first saw that, I turned away. Yeah. But now it's like, oh, that's obviously not real.
Right. It has that kind of. That's what I mean. Kind of that. But I mean, for the time, that was a pretty gory scene. Yeah. I would say that whole kind of ending scene. Really, for the time, just the whole thing was on edge as far as gore and roughness. Like, it was hitting everyone's sensibilities.
There's something really cinematic about gore if it's done well, and violence. I mean, it's just something about it that kind of, it's a little. I always thought it was just shock value, but if it's done well, if it's placed right, I mean, that scene to me, it did, and it was like, oh
yeah. Well, just watching it recently, you're still like, you feel it, and then you're like, well, obviously it's fake.
Well, yeah, because
but when it happens, you're for that split second. Before your conscious takes over and says, "Hey, it's fake," there is a point in time where you're, instinctually you're like, "Oh, gosh."
Yeah, it was one of those movies. It was only an hour and 20-something minutes long with credits. It was a short movie.
When I watched the movie, Marquez, I was just fascinated. It was one of those things that finally caught my attention after Snake going for when you saw the climax of the scenes. That's where I was finally like, okay, this is interesting. Because when I was digging in, I want to first and foremost thank one of my favorite movie review artists, Oliver Harper, Retrospective. This guy here on YouTube, phenomenal. And when I was listening to his review on Escape from New York, I did not know that when they were trying to cast Snake. Well, we knew already that John Carpenter wanted Kurt Russell. That was no buts or ands. But Charles Bronson was the first one up in their list. And I go, what is this? Death Wish meets New York?
It's a spin-off of Death Wish.
And then I was like, no, he needs to stay with Death Wish. I mean, he probably got carpal tunnel on his his finger, shooting finger. And I'm thinking, no, dude, this is not for you. Give it to Kurt Russell. Because Kurt Russell has just that swag that... know, and then when you found out about the eye patch was his idea. Yeah. So that was another thing, and also, I liked how when everyone was casted, that for the people that don't know, Isaac Hayes is a singer. Yeah. And he's notorious for the song for the motion of Shaft. Yeah. So that's why he was known for that. And for him to get the opportunity to act, that was pretty amazing. And John Carpenter, with the success that he was having, I just felt like this was a good project going forward. We already discussed already about Big Trouble in Little China, but then later on, when he did The Thing, that was also another opportunity for him to be back on the screen. But John Carpenter did a great job. Oh yeah, in putting this on display, because this was a project he's always wanted to do. So let's dive in on the pro side. So I'm gonna start this off with you, Chris. Tell me what was the thing that you liked most about the movie and why?
One of the things I did, we've mentioned a couple times, I really did like the musical score, even though I said it's kind of simple and stuff. I like that. I really like the visuals. Just looking at it from like a movie making standpoint, I liked the cinematography and the music a lot. And a lot of it is nostalgia, like remembering when I saw it as a kid and the cool stuff then. But some of the acting is pretty good. I really liked Harry Dean Stanton's acting, and Ernest Borgnine was awesome as Cabby. I thought that was really good. So those were some of my pros. I think that's it. I mean, at the time it was a novel storyline and things like that. I think that at this point in time, modern days, has been a little played out with a lot of other stuff. So so if you've seen a lot of other stuff, you'll be like, I've seen this storyline. But I think that some of the other things that go into it, the cinematography and things like that, from an artistic standpoint, really stand out.
Yeah. Okay. I like the premise. I think that's pretty much at the time it was completely original.
Yeah.
You know, nobody had ever done anything like. I mean, we've seen futuristic movies prior to that, but I'm saying, you know, the story in and of itself, it's really good, and it sets it apart, as well as it binds it with everything else. And now, let me explain what I mean. Like when I say it binds it, it makes everybody. I mean, I remember everybody at that time tried to do something similar. Mm-hmm. I think that's even where the Terminator, just the look of it, the Terminator, the future part of the Terminator, that's where it got its roots. You know, and I remember watching this, trying to tell people about it, and you know, as a kid, I couldn't explain it. I mean, my mom told me not to watch it, so what did I do?
Watch it.
Yeah. So, but
go to a friend's house.
Yeah, I think we had it on Betamax or something. To tell you how old it was, but I remember just the way someone's bleak, gritty view of the future in the early '80s, you know, just changed my mindset as far as like entertainment. You know, that was the first movie I watched that made me think of movies, not as movies, but almost like art forms. You know, that was really it. And as far as like the cons, I wish, this isn't even it's a nitpick, but it's not on the movie. I just wish they would have done a better job with like a sequel, you know, and maybe even a prequel, you know, get someone else to play. And that's just it. Part 2 isn't out yet. I mean, unless you want to consider Escape from L.A. Part 2. But other than that, you know.
Or you can be like those movies where they say, hey, ignore the last movies. We're going to focus on this, like Superman. And you said Terminator, right? If I'm not mistaken, they were saying to ignore Terminator 3 and that way.
Yeah.
And then when they did Terminator, what was that movie? The one?
Dark Fate.
Yeah, Dark Fate.
Yeah.
It was right after Terminator 2.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like the other two movies didn't count, guys. It's like...
That's pretty much what they're saying.
Yeah. Well, what I really liked about this movie is yes, indeed, when it was written, it made you think, well, how would it be like if the law was not as strong anymore and they just couldn't handle it no more, and they just did was, hey, you know what? Let's just treat it like Australia in a sense.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Let them do their thing there. They can't get out anyway. And
Yeah.
What was that movie with Clint? Escape from Alcatraz, right?
Yeah.
Kind of that kind of scenario. That's what I was. Oh, like the Rock.
The Rock.
The Rock.
No, The Rock.
So the Rock. So overall, and what I really liked was John Carpenter did a great job with the scenery, because it was not filmed in New York. It was actually filmed in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Because there was a incident where there was a massive fire. So a lot of buildings were burnt. That was not being used. So save money. Hey, let's just film over here and let's get that going. Yeah. And so John Carpenter, phenomenal job on that. And what he does is he uses minimal budget and can make something great out of it.
I know.
He learned that a lot from Halloween. Yeah. And then he took that going forward.
And his stuff even before Halloween. I mean, he was making small movies, and I mean, he wasn't art school stuff, and so
so he did a great job on there. So I was just excited that Kurt Russell, you can't change Kurt Russell.
No.
When I think of Snake, it's that. That's why years later when we played Metal Gear Solid, you're thinking he looks like Snake.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is.
and there it is.
Yeah.
Well, before we give our cosmic movie review stars, let's go ahead and give a quick pause and thank to our following sponsors. All right, Silver Cosmo Movie Review Star Review is brought to you by TV's Tax Service. So this is it, the moment of truth. So what we do is after every movie review, we give our stars. So I'm going to start this off with you, Marquez. How many stars do you give it out of 4?
Definitely 4. Yeah, this was my movie. You know, I remember even trying to walk like Snake Plissken when I was in school. Yeah, so that was embarrassing, but still, it was probably definitely a 4.
I thought you were having hip problems. Now I know why. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, I know, right?
He's got the snake walk.
Yeah, that was what it was, the snake walk. Yeah.
Chris.
I am going to go with a 3.
Okay.
It's good. I really like it. I think some of the things, sound effects, haven't aged great.
No.
They were a little campy, and just my personal, I would have liked a little more backstory in there. But I mean, it's a great movie. So that's, some movies you don't need to have those, but I think when you got a character like Snake that's so mysterious, you just really want to have a little more knowledge of where that mystery comes from.
I'm going to go ahead and piggyback off you on this one. I'm going to go ahead and give it a 3 as well. Yeah. I like the script. The script made sense. Yes, I would, as a person that really enjoyed the movie, I would like to know more. I want to know where's the background, what happened. I mean, this is this is the pre-Christopher Nolan kind of thing where you have to ask yourself again, okay, so why did this happen? Why did the president do this? And therefore, so when you have so many questions, it's kind of like, okay, I guess I'll have to just wait.
And that even started with a reel of information.
Yeah, to let you know, it set the premise for the timeline.
Right.
But as someone who is obsessed with origin stories, no, I think background that gives the characters depth. I think it's just, the original, it had a lot of surface level. And then when they got to Escape from L.A., you got to hear about Cleveland.
Right.
And all this stuff. And it's like, okay, well, then can we see?
Flashback, guy. Flashback.
Yeah, it's
Come
like
on,
saying,
man.
okay, I got this great steak here, but you can't have it.
I feel like that's one thing that's really got, and again, I don't think that all movies need that, but especially with kind of your superhero type movies. Yeah, I think they've gotten, and sci-fi type stuff, I think they've gotten pretty good in recent times of using 10 to 20 minutes of screen time with properly placed flashbacks to give you a better connection and understanding of the heroine or heroes. Why they do what they're doing.
And, what put them on the path.
Right. Whether it's that or how they obtain the things that they're using or things like why does Snake even try to still help? Like, he's here for jail. Like, why does it? I mean, he does because they shot him with the deals. But
kind of suck because, I mean, he don't respect the law. He doesn't like authority. And he was the rebel, I can say it, the badass. And it was just a rebel badass. And what was going on is he was defying against all odds because they kind of got him in that situation where he couldn't do anything because it's like, well, if I don't do this, well, they shot something in me.
But how does he go from being war hero, special ops, awesome dude to robbing a Federal Reserve?
They should have shown that movie, but they cut it out. John Carpenter did that where they gave him a little backstory when he stole from the bank, but then they cut it out.
See, that was probably back when it was like, hour and a half is the max on a movie.
Yeah,
no one wants to be in the theater longer than an hour and a half.
Yeah. Now movies are what
3 hours was the Batman. I mean,
double the time.
Plenty of backstory there.
What's considered the longest movie? Wasn't Titanic? What was it?
No,
I'm trying to remember what was the long.
Dances with Wolves was pretty long.
Yeah, that was long.
Yeah,
get to the point, Kevin Costner. That's what I was thinking.
The Stand, but that was a TV show. The Stand wasn't a movie. I don't think it was a movie. Yeah, it was a special TV event.
We'll find out. We'll do some research on it. But, well, you guys, so we have 4, 3, and 3. So we're going to go ahead and give it 3.5. Okay. So you guys tune in to the show, and we told you already why we picked Escape from New York and why you should watch it. So other than that, thank you so much for coming in, and we will look forward to hearing from you guys from the next episode.
Thank you, guys.